Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third talking session on Discord from RENNSPORT. It has been quite a while since the last time. It has almost been exactly 1 year. Almost. A couple days are still missing. A lot has happened, but as always, I am joined by our wonderful CEO, Morris. Hello, Morris.
Hi.
Hey. Nice radio check earlier. And instead of Krzysztof this time, we are joined by our CTO, Jan. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, Jan, maybe you want to say a few words to introduce yourself before we start this thing off?
Yeah, I figure no one really knows who I am, so I should probably introduce myself, right?
Exactly.
My name is Jan. I've been working in games for about 10 years. I worked on games like The Division, its sequel, the upcoming game Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, also from the same studio. Yeah, that's how long it takes to develop games. And after that, I worked at Sharkmob for a couple of years, and after that, I worked on online systems for a company called Axel Byte before I was poached by Morris to help build a competition company and the RENNSPORT project. That's a little about me.
Nice. So, Jan is doing everything he can to increase the speed of our development and improve the quality, I guess.
Yeah, more quality than speed, I'm afraid, much to Morris's hatred, maybe.
Oh,
Quality is definitely more important than speed.
exactly. And we haven't missed a deadline since like 6 months or so, maybe. So it's still fine. It's still fine. Anyways, we will continue with our schedule because a quick overview is always nice. We will start this whole thing with a small recap for the past year. So what happened, because it has been quite a while. Let's be honest there. Afterwards, Jan is going to give us a quick Unreal Engine talk, just explaining our troubles with it, our successes with it, and all that kind of stuff. Then we are going to give a quick overview to the next update that is going to be released to the closed beta. And afterwards, we start with the usual Q&A session. And after that, it's just the usual bye-bye. And of course, during the whole session, you are free to ask questions during the chat. I have a few people in the chat that will hopefully send me the good ones, and then I will read those out and we can hopefully answer some of your questions as well. And therefore, I would say that we start with the recap, what happened since the last time we met together for this talking session. At the first point, Morris, maybe you want to say a bit about it, is the start of the ESL R1 in Katowice.
Yeah. When I remember our last talking session, we promised a lot when it comes to sporting and what we are planning to do there. But we're still in planning, and there were nothing real. And so now we are close to Jönköping, our final of ESL R1 this year. And we are super close to have the first year done with 2 season halves. We learned a lot from developing side, from doing events, coming together. Also, the summit was involved. For me, or for us as a team, it was a great journey this year when it comes to sporting. And it's just amazing to see what happened there. A lot of great teams, great drivers, a lot of great sporting. Broadcast improved over the year a lot. So the starting point makes me or makes us not really happy, but it's all as it is. Start with things and then improve it. So the level we have at the moment is definitely really good when it comes to broadcast. So we are all super proud and happy how ESL R1 is, and for sure there will be added some new things next year, and makes the sporting more interesting and bring it to the next level. 100%. Yeah,
We will talk a bit more about that later as well, or at least when we are going to talk about it, we're going to share. After the Katowice, we also rather quickly got a new track, which is Monza. Morris, Monza, the first track during the ESL R1 season. Any input?
yeah. Monza is definitely one of the top 20 tracks in the world, and the goal is for RENNSPORT having all these famous tracks in the game when it comes to the release. And so Monza definitely was on the list for a long time. We also will have some great new tracks in the game with the next patch. So yeah, just great to see all of these new content. Sometimes we all feel we could be a bit faster, having more content sooner, but having this content on this quality level is just great to see.
Exactly, and Monza is my absolute favorite track. It's so much fun to drive. And, well, we saw something very special on another track, which was Spa at the Munich Summit, which was at the same time also the ESL R1 Spring Season Finals of that season. Maybe some of you watched it, the great battle between Chinchik and Baldwin. Amazing. Morris, what was your take on that?
Munich Summit it was our starting point in 22. This year we had a bigger venue, and the overall event was bigger because it was the first final with ESL R1 together. It was just amazing to be there, and that was the first time when we all on the team really felt what it is, what we had in mind when we started with the sporting, really having hundreds of people in the venue celebrating the races, the winner, having these sporting feeling. And that was definitely one of the main things why we start doing the sporting, and it was just great to be part of it. And really big thanks to ESL, the whole team, and our team. What we made happen there was just amazing.
Exactly, it was incredible. Jan, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, the energy was insane on site. To be honest, I've never really felt like in my my stomach like I did when I was there watching it happen. Like you said, the battle between Baldwin and Chinchik, it was, I don't know. I really can't describe it as anything less than legendary, to be honest. It was insane.
It was really good, yes. The energy and also the reactions in chat. I was on Discord chatting, and the reactions of people were also crazy. It was so much fun, such a good race. I hope we have something very similar this time as well when we are in Jönköping for the finals.
Yeah, I hope so. And it really proves the format works, to get that level of excitement out.
Exactly. It was so cool to see. So, after the Munich Summit, or at the Munich Summit, we had announced that the closed beta would start very, very quickly. And so it did. We had the closed beta start. Slightly delayed from what we had planned in the beginning, but that's how it is, I guess. And the closed beta started off right with the perfect energy, which was memes. We had the 8 keys memes, among others, which were targeted at annoying me, but that's something else. Let's not talk about those. We also had, due to those 8 keys memes, we released a new track, which was the Beta 8 track, or however you want to pronounce it. Did we have anything special with that going on, Jan? Do you know? Anything technical?
Other than the fact that it was easily the fastest track we've ever made. Obviously not laser scanned from a real track at all.
It was, right. It was the first track in the game which was not laser scanned.
Yeah. So really, like, rapid development trying to get that out. And I do remember at one point someone on YouTube, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was driving around and he realized there were memes on the
yes.
What do you call them? The advertisements, the scrollers. You're like, wait, they put memes in my fucking sim racing game like that.
Exactly.
I couldn't stop laughing. It was brilliant. But yeah, that was a challenge, mostly in terms of like content creation, and not using the laser scans was I have a personal conviction about making sure things are as accurate as possible. So not using laser scans was a punch, but we did it for the memes,
Exactly, and the memes, thanks to Wolf, were there for quite a long time actually. Got a bit annoying at times even, with people continuously saying we only send out 8 keys. I promise, guys, it was more than 8. It was more than 8. Also more than 9.
It was definitely more servers than for 8 people, I promise you this.
Yes, exactly. And we also released with the closed beta the online multiplayer, which took us a while to develop. Maybe, Jan, you also have some input on that?
Yeah, online multiplayer was a complicated topic for us because we didn't want it to... Okay, online games is my pedigree, right? It's what I did for the Division, and it's what I did for Bloodhunt, and it's what I did for. I helped Activision with their Destiny 2 at one point. So getting it right is important, and for us, we're using a high quality physics engine, right? And replicating that using the Unreal standard, replication dynamic is it's not going to give you the same granularity. So what you have to do instead is you feed telemetry across the wire, and it's not. You get into problems with how do I explain this in an easy to go way, right? You need a monotonic clock in order for you to reproduce the same exact physics steps on all computers at the same time, or you have to do it on the server. And if you do it on the server, which we were doing, it's extremely expensive on CPU time. So we had to figure out a way of not bankrupting the company and still providing an extremely good experience. So once we got that solved, we were able to release it. But we have, better physics than most, at least in that way.
And the servers are quite stable, in fact. I mean, we had some sessions out there with high ping, but that was because I made the mistake of hosting servers that were not located in Europe. So sorry about that. Anyone who complained about like 100 ping, that was my bad. I tried to minimize those issues or those errors. And that also leads us to the competitive system that we have, which is a very basic V1, I guess. But our platform team put a lot of effort into it, a lot of thought as well. And I think it's working quite well. What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, obviously, I'm going to think it's good because I'm the person who asked for it. But
yes,
I mean, it's a good foundation for how things could be, right? So based on what they currently have, we can branch out into proper tournament systems and clan systems, like team systems and integration with third parties. So, for example, ESL themselves, they have a wonderful tournament system that is third party, completely external for us. And we have the capability, at least, whether we actually develop it further or not, I don't know yet, but we have the capability of integrating with those things. So that gives people the more flexibility in running their own tournaments, as well as the fact that we can obviously give a really good first-class experience if we keep developing it this way. So I'm quite happy with how it's going. It's a pretty solid foundation based on my previous experience, at least.
Yes, I agree. Though the safety rating seems to be bugged because I was the one with the lowest safety rating, which is impossible.
No, stop crashing, man.
I didn't. I drove with keyboard. Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, definitely.
But Morris also didn't drive, right? The competitive, at least, the online multiplayer.
I tried it two or three times, but I'm more the guy driving single player mode for my own and jumping into the multiplayer and in the competition when I feel being on the right level.
Okay, that explains why he wasn't the lowest and I was the lowest. But maybe
exactly.
Maybe it will change at some point. Okay. After the closed beta start, we actually went on quite a trip to Riyadh. We had our Gamers 8 event there. It was a huge tournament with a lot of fun parts and also a lot of pain parts, especially pain parts, as far as I remember, but you always remember the bad things. But it was still super fun and super cool production. Morris, you weren't there, but Jan, do you have anything to say?
Riyadh was hard. Riyadh was really hard. So the event itself was actually quite nice. The stage setup, I mean, you can think anything you want about, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or whatever, but they did a good job with setting us up with a good stage and internet, and ESL were there, and they were in force, and you could tell they were putting on a full production. It was quite something to behold. But getting people there, getting the rigs there, the 50-degree heat of outside, we had there were power outages. And everything in the room stayed powered except the air conditioning, right?
Exactly.
So you can imagine a situation where you have 12 of, these are extremely powerful computers. They're heating up the room.
And you have 50 degrees outside.
Exactly. So we had a couple of situations where it was like, should we shut everything down? Because otherwise we're going to melt melt the graphics cards.
Exactly. That explains
Uh,
the downtime during the streams, because we had like, I think, three power outages when we were there. So we had to actually shut down everything. Otherwise, it would have gotten way too hot.
yeah, exactly.
That
And
was
of
interesting.
course, navigating everyone there was quite difficult. So we couldn't have a full RENNSPORT presence on site. So a lot of us were pulling quite long hours. And oh man, I could go into this for hours. I'm sorry, but one thing I want to talk about definitely that everyone should know is we had so many hardware failures that we sent one of the co-founders of the company out with a company credit card to go buy new graphics cards and motherboards because they were failing at such a high rate.
Oh, yes.
That was kind of funny.
That
So
was
it's haggling
fun.
with. I think we bought every graphics card available in the Silicon Valley of Riyadh. You know, there's this like quarter area where you can buy computer components.
To be honest, Jan, I saw his credit card list next day in the office, and I just said to the team, "What the hell is this idiot are doing in Riyadh? What he's spending he's spending our money? Is he partying? There's no alcohol available. What the hell is he doing?" That was great. But let me tell you some things. So Riad Gamers 8. It's just so great that RENNSPORT could be part of that, and there were the biggest games you could have out there for esport, and we had the chance to be part with RENNSPORT, where the game was just in a closed beta, and that was just amazing for us to be part of that, and also it helps a lot. Establishing the sport, the sim racing, bringing really a prize pool into the sport, that the teams and the drivers really could live with that, with the prize money and with the environment we have there, and that makes me super happy, to be honest.
Exactly. And talking about the teams, the next thing that happened was actually the start of the ESL1 fall season already, with all the teams as well. It was a very quiet start, but we had some new tracks to show. Oh well, one for now and another one tomorrow actually. So make sure to tune in. We will talk about this a bit more later. But also, what happened during the year was we added 2 new cars. We had the Porsche 991 GT3 Cup, the 992, and the Praga R1. So, Morris, maybe you want to say a few things about those 2 cars, or one in particular.
Yeah, we added new cars, and definitely I wish we could be a bit faster with the content when it comes to cars. But this year, definitely we established our overall external developing resources and also internal developing resources. We really improved our process, and when it comes to car content, we will definitely be much faster in the next quarters. So that's the positive thing on that. Yeah, having new cars in the game is always great. Having new car classes is the next step. Maybe we could talk about this later. Yeah, we added the Praga. That was the first car which was not a GT3, and as you all know, the GT3 cars are developed with the real physics we got from the automotive guys. They are developed very close with the automotive partners, with the works drivers there, with their engineers and so on, and these cars are so close when it comes to physics with reality that we are super happy with that. And then we definitely had the first car which was not a GT3, and that was the Praga, and we were all super happy having a new class, another car there. But that was the first car where we had not these big support from the manufacturer, where we not get these feedback how the car should drive and how the car should behave. And yeah, then we had Jimmy Broadbent coming up and saying, "Hey, look, guys, this car feels so shitty. It's just crap." And to be honest, yeah, we heard that, and it's good to get that feedback. And we took the car. We really brought some drivers in. We had more focus on the physics for that car, and there will be huge improvements with the Praga in with the next update we will release in November. And yeah, to be honest, feedback in this way always welcome. It helps us really to improve things and to be totally open. The Praga, when it comes to physics, was definitely not on the level we would like to have for our cars. But it was a learning, and I think now it improved a lot. And would love to hear what Jimmy Broadbent says now, and also would love to get his feedback and what he likes and what he don't like.
I think one of the challenges we have, I mean, we get a lot of information from the automotive manufacturers about how their cars are actually constructed, and that feeds our implementation of physics. So we take real car data, and that's sort of transformed into a way that makes sense for our physics engine, right? But some of the problem is sometimes we don't get all of the data, and that can cause pretty big issues for us, to be honest. And I think that's the case with the Praga. So we did the best we could with the information we had, and we learned a lot from that experience. Obviously, we have some competence in the company with how GT3 cars are built, but the Praga is a different beast completely, and it requires very close collaboration to get it correct with them. So that's what we're working on, and hopefully we manage now, because I think Jimmy was right. That car did not drive very well.
Definitely. But Lucas, look, we had in our last talking session, December last year, we had these discussion with sounds and how our car sounds and so on.
Yes.
And we talked about this last year. And I said, look, this is what we've learned. It's not enough to take some samples and try to get as close as possible when it comes to sound. And we decided to do it by our own and going out, visiting the automobile guys and doing sound records. And that's what we have done over this year. And the first GT3 cars in the game now have the new sound implemented. And it improved a lot, to be honest. And therefore, we are really on our way. And when we see what we delivered is definitely not the standard the community would like to have or we would like to have, then we rethink and we develop our process and try to make it better. So that's how we work, and we will have a lot of challenges in the future, and we hopefully can manage them all in the same way.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good announcement to make, right? You can judge us based on the fact that on where we've improved the most, and we've improved. Audio is the best example of this, I think, where we've gone from maybe not having the best audio to having probably the best audio of any sim racing game, at least of the cars that we've reworked the audio on. And that's the real takeaway: is this is a journey. We will improve. Everything that we can improve, we will improve all the time. And maybe the first implementation of a thing, even the first released implementation of a thing, is not the best. But we will learn, and we will take the feedback, and we will improve ourselves, which is hopefully something that you guys want to be on the journey for. But otherwise, nothing's going to be perfect on day one.
Yes, and it was very obvious for most people that the first sounds we had were like placeholders, but we actually started like recording our own sounds at the start of this year. So the quality and accuracy of those sounds should improve like drastically with the next updates coming out, and updates to the sound coming out, because it's a very lengthy process to update those sounds. It can take a while, same as everything else. But something else that has taken quite a while is this next point on our schedule, which is, Jan, the on-site challenges we face at events. We talked a bit about the Gamers 8 trouble, but we had a lot more. So feel free to cry a bit now.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I get an audience to cry with. That's amazing. Every time we have an event, it is quite demanding. To be perfectly honest with you, these LAN events, they're wonderful. They're really good, and they give you a lot of energy. You're seeing everything come together and seeing the team, seeing these like superstars of sim racing, or like playing a game in front of you all together. It is quite nice, but that reward comes with a massive downside, and that's there's a human toil, of course. Like these events, they require some babysitting. But there's also things, things that only seem to happen on site. I mean, when we're going to do one of these tests, what we'll do is we'll, go to a warehouse and get all the rigs together and test everything ourselves with our own equipment and make sure it all plays well and drive through. I think it's like 100 hours multiplayer before we can really validate that it's, good. And then you get on site and suddenly it crashes. The game crashes or a graphics card dies or I think I think we are the biggest buyer of Samsung Odyssey G9s on the planet.
That's probably true, yes.
So I mean, but they only seem to really happen on site, these problems. So I mean, I give you an example. There was one of our rigs. We consider it cursed because it's constantly having issues, and I'm not going to tell you which one because that might ruin the competition. But everything about that rig was replaced at one point in Riyadh. We did everything possible. We replaced. We gutted it. We opened it. We replaced the graphics card. Then we replaced the memory. Then we replaced the motherboard. Then we replaced the CPU. We replaced the coolers. It's like, but this thing keeps crashing, and it's crashing on a render bug. And render bugs. So the rendering pipeline is, Unreal tells DirectX what to do. DirectX tells Windows what to draw into the graphics card. Something like that, and then, the graphics card draws it, or it doesn't. That's sort of how it goes. And these crashes were happening inside DirectX, which only happens if you've hit a DirectX bug, which is unlikely because it's Unreal Engine, and they have better engine developers than we have, or it's a hardware issue. But it kept happening, even if you swap the graphics card, even if you swap the RAM, even if you swap the motherboard. Eventually, one of the founders says to me, like, "What can you do to fix this?" And I said, "There's absolutely nothing I can do. I've replaced absolutely everything. We've reformatted the computer. We've done absolutely everything possible. The only thing I can think of is if we wrap the computer in foil to stop any interference. But this is so unlikely, it's impossible. So we wrapped it in foil, and then it didn't crash. So I think we're going to do this for everything now."
That was awful, yes. But it was so funny.
It's also, I mean, there's other things that are really complicated, like getting the power to these machines because they're 1,500 watts each. You're not going to get that all of the rigs on a 32 amp fuse because, I mean, the wheels themselves also draw upwards of 1,000 watts. The screens maybe 150 watts. So just drawing that much power, especially on an event site where they're not used to it, is quite complicated. The networking requirements are not super much, but making sure that it's low latency and shielded is also kind of complicated. I mean, it is not fun, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's fun on the last day because there's almost no problems on the last day, but getting there is so hard.
Usually the thing that happens is like 10 to 5 minutes before the first race starts, something goes wrong, and we have to panic and stress and fix it last second.
Yeah, and how many times have we swapped rigs, Lucas? We should keep a tally on this.
I don't know. Like,
every time a rig fails catastrophically, we swap it. So we have spare rigs in the back, just in case something happens. But these rigs are also extremely heavy. I think they're 60, 70 kilos, maybe
they're like
more.
80 kilos.
I would say it's more, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
80
All right. So imagine scrawny little game devs dragging an 80 kilogram like monstrosity across the floor, trying not to bend it in any way that causes damage to the components or smack the screen or anything, and then doing it again to get another machine on stage. And usually these stages are constructed weirdly, so there's all kinds of places where you can put your feet, where you're going to snap your ankle, So scrawny game devs dragging an 80 kilogram steel frame with fragile components across, like a minefield. And we do that every time something crashes. And I would guess we have about 5 of these swaps a day.
Yes, probably.
So
it's a good workout at least.
Yeah, I've gained a lot of muscle mass working here, but
yeah, at least at the events. Afterwards, it's like I lose everything again. But at the events, usually the spare rigs are so far away from the stage as well because we can't find any like space close enough. So we have to go like half a kilometer. It feels like So
Yeah, it's definitely because space near the stage is very precious. It's for the ESL guys, the broadcast guys. They have a lot of there are these cameras, right, that face people, and I don't think people realize that these are not just webcams. These are like RTMP, direct analog kind of style cameras, like big high quality cameras, and they're all fed into this one console, and their maximum distance is roughly 100 meters of cable, not in terms of distance away from the rig. So you lose like maybe 4 or 5 meters just to making it wired correctly. So that gives you a sort of maximum distance of where it can be, and that console is where all broadcast is happening. That's the mux, that's the feed thing, you know. So they need the space more than we do. So we have to drag this 80 kilogram thing past, this wall of TVs as we, yeah. But just to give you a sort of taste of how hectic these can be, we usually have a week before testing. We're on site. We're working. Some of us are working up to 16, 18-hour days when we're on site, and then there's the cleanup where we have to wrap everything up like sort of the same day. So, for instance, in Munich, when after we fired the cannon and there was glitter everywhere, which I hated, by the way.
yes,
But that was my wish. Sorry for that.
it was horrible.
Morris.
It was so bad.
Oh,
That
there's
makes me so happy.
there's still silver pieces of thing in
No, it was gold. It was gold. And definitely we don't have a steel frame for the sim rigs. It's an aluminium frame, but it's still 80 kilos plus. Yeah, sorry for that.
Yes.
Nice correction there.
But yeah, so that same day after those cannons fired, and we all took photos, and this Chinchik took the stage, and he was like, yes. Then maybe 20 minutes after that, the stage was gone. Right, we completely demolished the stage, completely took all the rigs away, everything was gone. So it's complete chaos for that week, and then you get a little break for a little while, but then someone will ask like, when is the next drop of keys, or when is the next content?
Exactly, and they always ask
it never
me.
Stops. But yeah, I think that's all I should talk about, to be honest, because I could keep going forever.
Yes, I could keep going as well. But you can keep going with another topic. You already talked a bit about it, which is the Unreal Engine devs being better at, well, engine development than us. And I think it's time for your Unreal Engine talk.
All right. Okay. I'm actually curious if anyone really wants to hear about this, but so I guess I should say why do we use Unreal Engine? And it's mostly because I worked for Ubisoft before, and so did our lead QA, and so did our head of technical director. Like quite important people in the company have worked at Ubisoft Massive, and in Ubisoft Massive, we actually did make our own game engine. It was called Snowdrop, and it's powering, The Division 2, South Park, The Fractured But Whole. One of the Far Cry's that will come out will be using Snowdrop. Obviously, Avatar, the new Star Wars game. It's powering many games and quite different games. But that means that I know how incredibly difficult it is to make a game engine. It is not a couple-year effort. It is maybe 1,000 developers, good developers, like some of the most expensive developers you can get, working for roughly 5 to 7 years, right, before you get anything usable. And, developing a game at the same time you develop a game engine makes them married in a way that it shouldn't be. So what I mean by that is usually, you build a game on top of a game engine. But if you're building a game engine at the same time you're building a game, then what you're really doing is you're building a game engine into a game, right? And it's that way around. And it becomes impossible to pull them apart. And a good example of that is, because this actually happened, was on The Division, when we released The Division 2, it was still using The Division 1's code name for certain assets and like the executable binary even. Because it was hard-coded somewhere that we couldn't find in the build systems, and these bat files. Like, game development is complicated and it's very wide. It's not just like one source code repository. It's like it's many. It touches many places. You have these build systems. You have the source code repository of the main game. Then you have assets that depend on things. Then you have external dependencies that come in, like modules. And so, I mean, I've seen it go horribly wrong. And in fact, the technical director that worked on The Division, he started SharkMob, which is where I worked afterwards as well, because I wanted to follow, good developers around. And he chose Unreal Engine 5. Like he was like, no way, not doing that again. I'm done with this. We go Unreal. Why Unreal? Well, Unreal is, if you're going to make a AAA game, which is what we plan to do, Unreal Engine does give you the best potential for doing that. Unity is great, and these are the two main engines that you could choose from as a commercial offer. There are other engines like Godot, but it's not quite mature enough yet to make a AAA game on, right? But Unreal Engine is pretty solid. It's been used to make AAA games before. There's an active developer community, and crucially, Epic, I'm not sure if you're aware, if you've been following the game development community very much, they have been going around hiring the best game engine programmers that you can find, like literally, and giving them triple salary. So I can't compete with that and still make a cost-effective game anyway. So yeah, better the devil you know. May as well use the efforts of their labor. And the downside of that is if we want to keep getting engine updates, we have to play nice with how Unreal wants us to do things. So, for example, Unreal Engine really wants to do VR. That's great for us. So that means that we have the potential to do VR. And if we submit bugs to Unreal, they will likely fix the problems that we have with VR. Right. I should also mention that when we use Unreal, we do get their source code, and we could modify the source code. So we're not tied to do everything the Unreal way. In fact, we have made modifications to the engine to make it better for us, especially with regards to the physics engine. But as it goes around, the more you do, the less you can take of the upstream, right? The more you have to patch every time they update something, the more you have to, and the more of that you have, the slower your development's going to be every time you want to do that. So things like triple screen support is a really good example of something that we've chosen not to do right now. Because to do that would mean that we have to rewrite from scratch the Unreal render engine. So we can continue using, the other stuff of Unreal, but we would have to rewrite how rendering happens. And we really did investigate for quite a long time before we came to that conclusion. So it's not something that we took lightly. But that means that if we ever want to do that in future, we basically stop taking updates from Unreal. So we won't do that now, but maybe in the future, right? Yeah. I mean, what else can I say?
You mentioned the physics engine. That's a good point to talk about.
I think that's the physics engine was a hot topic in the community, right?
Yes.
Because, I think the really big failing there is that we didn't communicate on what physics engine we were using, and people have and I think we said something about like we're doing everything from scratch, which, I mean, obviously we're not doing everything from scratch because we're using Unreal Engine, and I thought that would be relatively obvious to everyone who's paying attention that we're not going to, build a universe to build a game in that way.
Yeah, but maybe let me say one thing here. Building things from scratch, and that's what we understand from that is really having building our overall ecosystem and creating the right software, the right source code, having all the things implemented we would like to have in the ecosystem when it comes to business integration, when it comes to the game and so on. We never meant that we will not have any additional software we are using to being more efficient, quicker in development. So definitely we talked about Unreal from the beginning. So we start with Unreal 4 and then we jump very early on Unreal 5. And I'm 100% with you, Jan. The only mistake we make with the physics is that we not communicate that the part of it is the license we have from Easy. So, but to be honest, maybe we were a bit blind there. We talked a lot about Unreal because that's definitely the biggest thing. That's a graphic, and that's yeah, what is the biggest part we have? I would say external software used. But it also brings a lot of opportunities when it comes to business things. So that taking content from the car manufacturers when it comes to car models and so on. So there, Unreal is definitely a very, very good decision. Coming to the physics thing, so we definitely we made our overall prototype with RENNSPORT without having any external physics. So the prototype was running also the physics without any external software. And then we definitely decide to speed up things, and it was exactly the same you described it for Unreal, Jan. How can we be quicker? Can we be more efficient with the team size we have? And Easy was really good decision for us to implement, using part of that to being quicker in our physics development. And it still was a really, really, really good decision for us to use that exactly as using Unreal. But I'm with you. When the shitstorm came up in the community, we all realized internally, okay, maybe this is definitely our fault because maybe we had to talk about these other external software we are using earlier. But to be honest, we definitely didn't had it in mind, and yeah, that was a mistake. And if you look back, you always learn things. And talking about other external software beside of Unreal, yeah, would be definitely a thing we would do different when we go back.
I mean, when you do anything, you always have to risk, making the wrong choice or making a mistake. And I mean, there was no malice, which is nice and comfort for me as a person in the company. There's no malice in trying to mislead people. But I mean, just so everyone is aware, sort of the company principle is like we make pragmatic decisions. We make the best possible decisions, and where possible, where someone's doing something way better than we could do, then we will adopt their strategy and evolve it to the next level, right? The architecture of the game itself is quite modular, and we never plan to, well, the plan is not to use Isimoto for forever. The plan is to get inspired by it, to evolve it ourselves, to develop it further. There are other things that we use in the engine, for instance. There's a thing called Fmod for audio, while we're being transparent, right? Because Fmod it might be old, but it's the best way of doing event-based audio in Unreal Engine. There isn't anything better. And to develop that from scratch by ourselves would be absurd, to be honest. So I'm quite happy with the choice. There was an investigation, of course, at the time. Like, can we proceed with the knowledge we have, with the speed we want to develop the game? In the period of time with this, that, the other, other physics engines that were available, and really, Isimoto was the best. So obviously we're gonna use that one. That it happens to be used by other games, I mean, then they know what's good, right? But our passion is making it next level, making sure that we're the best in class, and making sure that we have the competence to do that. So that's all I have to say about that.
It was quite a lot to say, which is good. It's a nice talk for a talking session. Fitting. But that was, I think, a very good talk about this topic. So let's move on to the next one, which is our planned update for the closed beta, the 1.6. I guess, Jan, you can start with some words on this, I guess.
1.6.
Yes.
With the new tracks, you mean?
Yes.
Well, hopefully we're able to release Road Atlanta. That would be nice by end of November. Yeah. Daytona.
Very good. Yes, Morris.
We will.
Please.
I'm 100% sure we will release Daytona as well. So we will add some TCR cars. And definitely this is now the starting point of having more content updates in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, I think we in order to get a lot of content out, you have to have a very wide content pipeline, right? What you see when we release things is the culmination of many months of work in some cases. So having monthly updates means that we have to already have people working for many months in advance, you know, parallels or almost parallel to each other. So um, I'm glad that we get to have a good release schedule at the moment, and we're going to make it wider in the future. You know, better standards, better widen the pipeline even more. But Road Atlanta and Daytona being released along with rolling starts, that will be fun because basically you can drive as if you're NASCAR.
Exactly. And make sure to check out the ESL One streams tomorrow and on Friday, because Daytona is on the schedule for that. So hopefully some fun times ahead. I'm sure Alex is not going to have fun, who's responsible for the ESL One stuff, but everyone else is watching. I hope you enjoy it. And with that, we are finished with the pre-Q&A session stuff. So let's get right into the Q&A sessions. Alex is already enraged, that's fine.
Really? I thought it was the Q&A session.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
You did talk about one of the questions you wanted to talk about, yes, but we can just skip that, that's fine.
Okay.
That didn't mess up too much, so all good. So the first question we got from the community was, what is the next car class that will be added to the beta? So Morris, maybe you want to say something on that?
This question is answered. Next question, please.
It isn't fully answered.
No. Yeah, there will be 2 TCR cars in the game in November. And the 2 racetracks Jan talked about.
Yes. Now we have fully answered it. On to the next one, which is what improvements and additions can we expect in the short, mid, and long term? And in general, what are the plans for 2024? I think that's for Morris mostly.
Yeah, as we said, so there will be more content updates in shorter periods of time. Then definitely, yeah, we will push our closed beta a lot so that people really could be part of RENNSPORT as soon as possible. Midterm, definitely. There will be some new things for the sporting. We would love to do an extra Discord session beginning of next year. And then definitely a big thing next year will be the modding things and all additional options we will bring into the game and into the app when it comes to motivation system, gameplay stuff, marketplace, and all these stuff. So there's definitely a lot of things.
Yeah, I think you can think about it like that, right? Short term, increase the competitiveness of the game, like create these reward systems, not battle pass, but imagine like progression system, achievement systems, these type of nice things. Then in the midterm, it's more like more game modes, maybe like diversifying the car portfolio, the track portfolio, the classifications, and then in the long term, it's be the best sim racing game ever. Is that a good answer?
Yes, easily. No worries about that. No doubts about that. You all forgot to mention one big thing, which is the force feedback changes that we are going to push out in 1.6 already. We're gonna be having like huge force feedback changes. We had like a week of hard work on the force feedback system. Jan, you were there. I wasn't there, so maybe you have something.
Yes, we worked very long to try and fix the the force feedback calculation. We modified because being able to feel the slip of the car when it's about to lose control is obviously extremely important. But also making sure that the setups of the cars were as solid as possible, working a bit more on the tire model so that it's how do you explain that? It's like more grippy but less grippy. Yes, more lateral grip but less grip on the straights. So, but also not trying to wear the tires out because that happens if you have too much grip. Yeah, it's a lot better. Even I can feel that it's a huge improvement, and I suck. So I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. Now we just got to make sure that we never have this problem again.
Exactly.
Yes. So tightening up the QA process so we can, like I said, we're always learning, right? We're always evolving, we're always getting better. So this is one area that I think we shouldn't ever go back.
No, we had like a huge step back at some point, but we're back. I had some good feedback from all colleagues pretty much that were involved. So that's good. I see a question in the chat. What are the differences between the free version of RENNSPORT and the subscription model that is going to feature? That is something that we are going to talk about in 2024 in our talking session, most likely in the first one. That Morris already teasered a bit. We are going to have another talking session in January 2024. And we are planning on having like one talking session every quarter, I'd say. So that is a plan moving forward. So this question will hopefully be answered by then. If not, feel free to ask again. And the next question we have on the list is, what is the current situation with the closed beta keys? How many have been sent out? When is the next drop? And how many keys will be sent out? Morris.
Yeah. I think, or I know this is really a big topic in Zulip and in Discord, and yeah, I know there are a lot of people out there who registered more than 12 months ago, and they're really not happy don't having a key. So we definitely had more registration than we all expected. On the one hand, this makes us super happy because that shows that we are on a good way with the RENNSPORT, that people know us and that people maybe like us, or minimum be interested to test RENNSPORT. So that's the really great and positive part. On the other hand, we definitely were not able from the beginning to bring as many as people on RENNSPORT as we planned to do. So because there were too many people on the list. So to be clear there, we will have a beta patch this month, and the plan is to have another 15,000 people in the game then. So we will drop another 15K keys. Plan is then dropping another, maybe having another little patch in December, and dropping another 20 to 25,000 keys in December. And with the keys we dropped over the year, we hopefully then have 50% of all the people which were on the waiting list in the game. And one thing we definitely could promise is that all the registrations we got in 2022, so last year, we definitely will send out a key to these guys. So this is what I 100% can promise. Everyone who registered last year will have a key this year.
Yes, before Christmas. And
to be honest, to add some things, we are working like hell to be ready for open beta really early next year.
Exactly this. You already took away something again, I think, but okay. Or maybe not. I don't know. That's good. So will we feature events like endurance and multiclass races to move on to the next question, Morris?
Yeah, multi-class endurance is, I think, what every racing title has to deliver, and that's a thing we have in mind from the beginning. And yeah, for sure, it will be part of the game. Hopefully, it could be, or maybe it could be part of our sporting list next year, and also we will open up the overall sporting system next year, so it will be part of this sporting system. I think first step is having pit stops. And when I'm right, Jan, I haven't seen the last list, but I think pit stop is the next step. So it's ready this year and also available this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly a technical issue for us, right? So obviously we need pit stops, but also we need everything to be, I mean, if you want to do endurance racing, you probably want to do 24-hour Le Mans, right? We don't want another situation like with R Factor. It needs to be very, very solid, very, very stable. And for that, we need this is luckily my area of expertise, but it's still a technical challenge. It's not like I can just snap my fingers and do it. It's a development task to really test these things properly. But it is in the plan, right? And that was the question. Is it in the plan? It is in the plan.
Is
We
it
want
the
to do
plan?
this.
But when it comes to pit stops, so for me, bit the first step in this direction, this should be in the game this year, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a sort of like a work in progress alpha version of the pit stops. It doesn't meet my quality bar for releasing, but we're working on pit stops, developing.
The pit stops are quite interesting to look at right now. Let's say that at least.
Yeah, I think they still do the thing where they throw the wheel through the car. So
Great. Some fixes still need to come, but then hopefully pit stops will be released this year. Yeah, laughing smileys in the chat. Exactly. It's very interesting, trust me. So the next question is, do we have an update regarding the launch date of RENNSPORT? Maybe also for Morris again.
Yeah, yeah, it's always tricky. At a certain point, the game has to be ready because, there has to be a plan for that. On the other hand, I think we start in this direction. Quality is definitely the point. So when we release the game, we definitely would like to have the quality we all have in mind internally, and the game has to be on a level that really the community could have fun with that, and that it is really an improvement for the sim racing genre. And it will be a release in 24, definitely, but there are a long way to go, to be honest.
Yes, and we're not giving out any more dates because we saw what happened last time. So it's better to be vague about it.
Yeah, exactly. And Lucas, we talked about last year, and I'm always the person, and the team afterward always kills me. I always love to say something. Oh, come on, here we will be ready with close beta, and we will have this and that. At the end, the most important thing is definitely having the right quality and then doing the next steps.
Exactly. You see the problem with having Morris speak in those interview-ish things. Morris is a very positive person who always looks positive into the future, and sometimes slightly misjudges some deadlines, I'd say, or workload. That's why we agreed no more like final dates of when we send out stuff or whatever. So it's gonna be vague from now on, but at least that will ensure that you won't have to suffer through the whole thing with the closed beta again, with having it delayed. I hope this will be good. Okay, Jan, a question for you. Do we have an update regarding a weather system?
No. There is one that we're developing, right? But it's not ready for prime time yet, mostly because I can't really explain to the audience here, I'm afraid. It's something we're working on, but it needs improvement. It needs a lot more refinement before we can really ship it to anyone. Time of day is also included in that same thing. The problem with it is mostly that it requires you to adapt a lot of content to it as well. It's not enough just to change the grip level of the car because it's raining, right? You also need to visually show that there is rain, there is cloud. It makes sense. It affects the light when it rains and stuff like this. So doing it right is more important than doing it wrong. At least on the physics itself, we have it working. We're testing it sometimes, but mostly we're focused on other content at the moment, trying to get that ready, trying to get that packaged nicely, so that we can, when we do finally launch the weather system, it will be good.
Yeah, and what the team is more focused on at the moment is having the day and night stuff, and I feel quite confident that we one of the new racetracks within the next patches in Q1 will definitely have some kind of day and night stuff.
Exactly. And more is a question from you from way earlier. You talked about the Praga R1 being our first non-GT3 car, but we had a question in chat that was talking about the Porsche Mission R. Do you have any statement on that? What happened to the car?
Exactly. You're 100% right. And I completely forgot the car. we had it on the Summit 22, and the car is completely ready modeled. And to be honest, it isn't on any release list I saw the last weeks. Yeah, I know I shouldn't talk this way, but it is in the garage, and maybe we have to focus on the car and bring it on the racetrack early next year. Jan, something for the team? A little challenge?
Little challenge, little bit of extra work.
Yeah.
I know you love it, Jan.
Please, no, please.
But guys, you can also say, because this is parts of this interview or of this talking session are going to be on YouTube and our socials. So for the part of this, or for this part, you can also like write in your opinion. Do you want to have the car in the game soon, or would you like us to focus on other things first? Maybe we can find a slot to put it in. I know it's going to be a tough week, but I mean, if the community wants it, I'm sure we can figure something out. And I know that Jan is giving me a death stare right now, but that's fine.
To be honest, the car was in the game, and the pros drove it in Goodwood. We had these hill climb race, and physics at this time was quite good. But maybe I'm too open sometimes. But that was definitely before we changed. Yeah. Maybe we could have it in the game quite quick. But then maybe Jimmy Borpin calls us and says that the physics is a nightmare. You asshole. We have to change it.
We will just have to develop it with him together.
I've no idea if he's familiar with Mission R electric cars and the physics behind, but we are totally open to discuss it.
And in the chat, I see a tag even. All the Daytona configurations. We currently have the road course and the oval layout. And the road course is definitely coming late November. Not sure about the oval layout yet, but definitely the road course for now.
Yeah, but this requires us to develop a layout system, because currently we don't. I mean, you play the game, you know that there's no layout system, right? You play the track that you get. So it might seem like a simple thing, but we actually have to develop a layout system to change the track configuration dynamically. So that's why that one's slightly different, why we don't release both at the same time. Sorry.
And you need to write cars.
Yeah, that's true too.
That is true. That is true. I mean, GT3 is still fun on the oval, but yeah, that's true. Jan, a question from the chat for you as well. What are the plans for the release? Quantity over quality, or the other way around?
I assume that they're talking about content. When we talk about...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when it comes to features, obviously quality is more important than quantity. We want to have very, very well-refined features. When it comes to cars, I mean, we're never going to ship a bad car, right? That breaks the experience. So we want to have enough content, obviously. Lots of really good content, but the quality is very important to us. So no clear answer. Trying to find the right balance, but erring on the side of quality over quantity.
Quality is important, yes. Otherwise, we're gonna have a lot of trouble feature as well. Because as you guys know, when we have something that's not fully high quality or up to standard, we get bad GT reviews, for example, and those are not fun. So we gotta look out for this in the future as well. Another question for Morris from our regular plan. What is our perspective on the new games that are coming and the updates to already released games?
Yeah, for sure. Competition is always great. There are competitors on the market which are doing a really good job over several years. So for us, this is the best motivation we could have. Really pushing like hell, really to create a new product which has some parts which are definitely on a new level. So when I see racing games in 2 or 3 years, I think graphic will be a kind of a standard. So the games will coming closer and closer together. So the new games on the market. So graphic will not be the unique selling point or the difference. So the difference is what is the overall ecosystem? What is implemented? What social aspects can the game deliver? How is the gameplay? How easy is it to implement content? And all these stuff. And that are exact the things where we are working super, super hard to create a very, very, very good game with new aspects, with new parts which no one of the other games have. And that will make us hopefully different and will create a new user experience. And this is always what makes you different and better at the end. On the other hand, yeah, there are good games out there. A lot of the hardcore sim racers or gamers not only play one game, so they play 3 or 4 games. So there's a market, and to be honest, the more really, really good games we have on the market, the higher is the chance that the market can grow, that people join racing, that people come into these ecosystem. And for the hardcore community, which is in racing, it's just great to have companies battling with their games, because the output and the games will be better at the end. And I think that's a good situation.
Exactly. Competition is always good, always helpful. So one last question from the community for Jan. Was there pressure from the sim racing community due to the small amount of tracks available and on show in RENNSPORT scene via the ESL R1?
I mean, of course, there's always pressure to release stuff. I mean, that just makes sense. Tracks are mostly the thing because people get bored of playing the same track. And I mean, when you see the number of hours, obviously we have access to the back end, so we can see how many hours people drive. And in some cases, you know, it's 4, 5, 6,000 hours on a single track. That's got to be boring. So there's always pressure to release these tracks, and it's important for us to supply the ESL with a wide variety of tracks because it's more interesting, more engaging. But it would be less fun to release tracks that are not high quality. So we take the stance that quality is more important. And even though there's a lot of pressure, yeah, we have to take a stand because you're building something, right? And if you don't have a solid foundation of content, then you can't step forward. You're always going to be trapped by the content that you've created. So,
and you need a solid foundation when it comes to teams, to the team structure, team size, and also what really took a lot of energy is creating the pipelines, having the right processes, how to create the content, how to have external content creators integrated into our content pipeline. That was really a hard job, but we optimized that a lot over the last 12 months. And now we have an overall, I would say, environment system, which will definitely bring more content into the RENNSPORT ecosystem very, very quick.
Exactly. So we have one more question on the list that I wrote together. It's for Jan again. And this question addresses multithreading. Jan, does RENNSPORT use multithreading?
oh, that's an interesting question. I think the answer is that it depends on how you think about multi-threading. There are multiple threads that the game will run. I think there's one audio thread. There's obviously the main physics thread. There is a main thread that's responsible for rendering. And each of these are separate threads. But what you probably mean is, are the game functions themselves split multi-threads. So if you have say you have a 20-core machine, is the physics engine going to go across those 20 cores? And the answer is no. Those are single-threaded. And the main reason for that is, well, there's two main reasons. One main reason for that is it's very hard to write multi-threaded code, and it causes these very subtle bugs to do with memory locks. So if you want to get good performance out of multi-threading, then you need lockless data structures, right? Racing conditions, someone says. Yes, but basically you get these race conditions, right? So either you have to lock the memory with mutex, and then that can cause what we call deadlocks, where a lock is not released, or you end up with spin locks, where one thread on another core is updating memory, and it holds the lock, and everything else has to wait for it, so it's spinning. It's using a lot of resources to spin. Or you forget to put a lock, and then you have these subtle memory bugs that cause weird crashes that you can never trace down. So Unreal Engine's philosophy is to do single-threaded. And obviously, since we're following Unreal Engine's philosophy, we are single-threaded by the virtue of that. So I think the best benefit you get from our game is if you have a high single-thread performance, but you have around about 5 cores. Obviously, there's no CPU with 5 cores, but if you have a 6-core or a 8-core CPU, then that's really, really good. But we do really well with 4 cores as well. So we do use multi-threading. 4 cores is about the sweet spot in terms of price to performance, but 6 cores is going to give you the best experience. Yes.
Thanks for the geek moment. Yes, exactly.
Oh, I'm a geek. I'm an engineer. They shouldn't have put me in front of you guys, to be honest.
I mean, we announced it will be a very technical session, so it's fine. Geek out as much as you want. Okay, and then I already said last question from the community, but there's one more that just came in, which is there are already some sim racing simulations on the market. Why should I change? And I guess, Morris, that's for us to show them next year. With what we got.
To be honest, we will. What we see at the moment when it comes to RENNSPORT, it looks like a bit like a typical racing game. But there are there are several other pillars we are working on. So one is definitely having the app deeply integrated. And when it comes to the app and what the app will deliver for, just as a standalone, this is definitely unique, and you will not have it with any other game. A lot of other features which will come to the back end, and that are things we will release step by step from beginning next year on, and I'm super happy to show that, and I'm quite confident there are a lot of arguments why it is worth to jump on RENNSPORT and being part of this.
Exactly. So that was it for the session, guys. Another proof why RENNSPORT people making schedules is not a good idea, because we were planning on having like maybe 30 minutes. Now it's been over an hour again. Oops. I guess we will get better at that, hopefully at some point. But I would like to say thank you for joining today's talking session. It was a pleasure, as always. And don't forget, the next one is going to be scheduled for January next year, beginning of next year. And from then on, hopefully, if we can stick to it, I think we can, like once a quarter. So we have like 4 talking sessions per year. No more 1 year break.
Definitely. Sorry, and definitely next year, Lucas, there are so many things we have to tell and we have to talk about. It is definitely worth to have it every quarter, and it will be 100% super interesting being part of it. Yeah.
Yes, introducing some more people from the team if they're up for it. We don't force anyone. Jan was volunteering somewhat. I mean, we asked him and he agreed, so I guess you could call it volunteering.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice talking to people, especially if I can nerd out and stuff.
Yes. You had permission to nerd out, yes.
Yeah, it's just dangerous to put me in front of people because I either go too technical or I'm very honest. So I'll just tell anyone anything they want to know.
But it worked out in the end.
I liked it.
Yes, I enjoyed it too, even though I didn't understand most of what you said, but it was nice.
Oh, that's
Maybe
a lie,
that- maybe
Lucas.
that
You're a
was the reason.
programmer.
Yeah, okay, I understood some parts of it, but not everything at least. Oh no, Kim is already telling the people to vote for you next time, Jan.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh,
All
It
right.
was.
Jan, next time you will do it by your own. Then I can.
Oh God, no, definitely not. Morris, you saved my ass so much here. But
Oh,
it was nice. I didn't know what to expect, and the chat was really nice. So
It was a lot of fun. It was great talking to you all.
Yes, it definitely was. So, thank you all for coming, and I hope that we will see you again in January for the next session. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. I gotta go buy a pie because my girlfriend's hungry. So,
Oh.
it's nice. Not talking to you all, but typing. It's nice typing to you all and talking at you. So,
Great.
thank you very much.
Thanks,
We'll see you
guys.
all next year.
See you January. Bye, everyone.
Bye.